do a little bit of Jungian dream analysis. One of these three guys has a dream, and they analyze it with the Jungian framework. And it's so good.
It's like it's like for a liberal. Have your dream analyzed by Jordan Peterson on the World Wide Web.
Well, that's a great image because the dead branch is the dead wood that should burn off, and it's casting a long shadow. So that ties into the whole shadow issue. And it is dead
we have the shadow. We got some, we're going hardcore Jungian here.
branches that cast the longest shadows and grip at you when you're walking through the forest.
He's saying that the long branches that grasp at you, and tear at your clothing. Like, Mr. Peterson, that's not actually what intersectionality is. Mr. Peterson, that's kind of offensive what you just said. That's the dead wood.
That's right.
To him.
So this is all offensive, but we're going to talk it through. So you're there and you're like hillbilly you. You're more hillbilly you than you are, I should say. It's a different gradation of hillbilly.
Hillbilly Peterson, okay.
And you're still dressed in your like Boston Celtics leprechaun outfit, but it's like
I don't really
degrees.
like it when you reduce Northern Albertan hillbillies to American hillbillies.
So he's like a leprechaun, tweed punk, hillbilly. Is that what I'm getting?
Meaning we're our own
But
kind of
that was
hillbilly.
his experience. That's the dream.
Yeah.
By the
okay.
way, hillbillies are great too. So it's like it's denigrating.
By the way, I totally love hillbillies. I feel completely safe with them, even when they get out their banjos and start playing ba-da-dong dong 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 dong. No, I love hillbillies.
I want to make sure no hillbillies should be harmed in the making of this dream because I'll hang out with hillbillies all day. So anyways, but it's like bad and it's degenerate. And you had a great point on that.
Just so you know, this guy's not anti-hillbilly, okay?
And you're there and you're in overalls suit. It's like tweed overalls. It's so funny.
Tweed overalls, okay.
It was so funny.
And
everyone's all around. And
I
it's
mean,
very
I will say though that I could see Peterson as a leprechaun. Like that jibes.
participatory and everyone's kind of partying around. And I got there.
You said there was a deliverance element too.
Total deliverance. Yeah, people are like
incestuous sex. And
Yeah.
The whole hillbilly catastrophe.
Wait, was that going on in your dream? Peterson's there with his hillbillies and they're all having incest?
Happening in the backwoods.
There is a hillbilly. There's a Jordan Peterson hillbilly. Yeah, it's going on. It's like a festival. But people are playing stuff like
There's an incest festival going on. What is this dream? Oh my
cello
God.
made out of forks and strings and everything's homemade and it was sad. And as you said, it's like, well, that's harder to make than you think. You go try and make a cello out of a fork and strings. But it's a mess.
Wait,
and
out
you're
of
walking
a fork and strings? Wait, how does that even work? I don't even understand. Classic Freudian dream,
around
yeah.
and you're your inquisitive self, where your hands are behind your back and your brows furrowed and you're paying attention well when you're paying attention.
His hands are behind his back and
But it was performative. And I was mad at you when I was there. And then you said something that I don't remember, but it was denigrating to me in a way that it was...
Oh my
I wish I could remember.
God. This is uncomfortable. I feel like this guy's got some real issues that he's projecting onto Peterson. And I feel a little bit uncomfortable for Jordan here. This is what you get is this guy's going to tell you about his dream where you're an incestuous hillbilly menacing him with your hands behind your back and giving the furrowed brow look and demeaning him. Oh my God.
Something that was trying to call forth in me an imposter syndrome that I'm acting in ways that I don't belong and I should be embarrassed and that I'm embarrassing myself and I should watch it.
So it's an accusation of something like hypocrisy, something like
imposter syndrome. And he connects it to hypocrisy. Hey, Polly. He connects this to a hypocrisy immediately. That's super weird, right? Because to me, imposter syndrome, the problem with somebody with imposter syndrome is that they actually are qualified. They do know what they're doing. They're good at what they're doing, but they don't believe in themselves. That's what imposter syndrome is, right?
Imposterism. I'm not as good or where I think that I am.
Yeah.
And I was really mad at you.
So imposterism, okay. I've never heard that term before, but sure, I'll go with it.
And I was mad at you on two fronts. Actually, I was dream mad at him the whole next day at the seminar.
It had to keep you apart.
I was dream mad at him the next day at the seminar. This is going to make it hard to work with somebody. Have I ever been dream mad? I've had dreams about people that are like in my life and then had to, encounter those people the next day, right? But I don't think I've ever been like dream mad. I don't think that that any sort of feelings in the dream have ever carried over to real life. Like, I mean, that person symbolizes something to you and you're dreaming about that thing. You're not really dreaming about the person most of the time.
Yeah, he showed up. I'm like, you were the war. You're like, yeah, I was dream mad at him like the whole day. It still hasn't fully worn off because you were horrible.
Okay,
but
well, he's joking, I hope.
So I was mad at you for two things. One of them is when I got there, I was like, yay, Jordan's here. This is going to be fun. This is going to be an adventure. And that's the first rule of our friendship, always. We always have fun. And we always laugh. Unless things are really shitty, and then we can at least make fun of it in an irreverent way that makes it somewhat tolerable. Like if there's a health thing, or like we've been through plenty on both sides that have been awful, but we're still funny. And it still is.
I'm funnier than you, but we're still funny.
Yes, that's true.
This guy's got some expectations of Peterson. Yo, I feel like there's like a parasocial thing going on here. I mean, they're laughing and joking and stuff like that, but like, oh my God, this weird expectation of like, it's got to be an adventure. We're going to have some fun, right, Peterson? Right, Peterson? Right, Peterson? We're going to have some fun.
Funnier looking. Okay.
I have to disagree.
Okay.
Greg is sadly funnier than you, Jordan.
Oh, God,
I have to
conservatism, my
just
friend.
don't know what to say.
You're all like locked in. Yeah. You don't take as many swings.
Right. It's sad.
But so you're not, it wasn't like you should be safe. That's not my relationship with you. You're not like you're not a safe space for me, right? In any way. But you're fun and you're adventure, and you always have my best intentions in mind. Even when we're fighting and even when we're arguing. And you didn't. And I was like, that's not you. And I knew it right away. And by the way,
so that's also what you're worried about at a deep level.
Yeah.
And the Daily Wire thing also brings that up, because
That's right.
people have been wondering, what's going to happen? Is this a tilt into something outside of the domain that we've been talking about? And there's
wait. This is right when Peterson started up his Daily Wire. So if you don't know, Peterson's been doing a lot more videos on YouTube. And it's like with the Daily Wire, right? He's become part of the Daily Wire family. It's like, think about the Daily Wire as like White Leaf, right? This is like the White Leaf for conservatives, kind of, right? Matt Walsh, Jordan Peterson. It's just like the VGG for conservatives, basically.
Moral hazard associated with that. And plus they're all hillbillies.
Yeah, it's like, let me insult like a transcendently competent Black Supreme Court justice, like a 25-year-old, like big-boned woman, and like a trans person, and then quit Twitter and join the Daily Wire. It's like, okay, good, Jordan. So
just for anybody who's keeping track at home, he's talking about the Supreme Court justice that Peterson called the epitome of DEI. He's talking about the plus-size swimsuit model that Peterson said he's got to say she's not attractive, and then dead naming and misgendering Elliot Page. So that's what's being referred to here.
Make the bridge building aspects of my life easier, and to explain why you're not like a captured entity. And let me also do it in unthoughtful captured language, right, that has worked its way through a particular ecosystem. And by the way, Daily Wire, I don't have that bias. Like I've met Ben. And this is a conversation we could have in good faith with Ben and Andrew Clavin. And like they could be here. This isn't us talking behind their back.
We're obviously not behind their back.
Well,
since they're all here.
Thanks. They're here. Okay, I didn't actually know that. But yeah, there's the Daily Wire logo in the lower right-hand corner, in case anybody's confused. Peterson's joined that Daily Wire network with Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro and all those people, and doing a lot more videos. And that's where we get blessed with the gold of the. What was that whole thing that he went off on?
I forgot about it.
What was that? It slipped out of my brain already. You know what I'm talking about? The video game villain thing that he did. Up yours, woke moralist. We'll see who cancels who. That's what I was missing.
I need to have the conversation, but I don't
missing.
necessarily want to.
Yeah.
Because I prefer talking to you privately. Yeah. I think that there might be more good that comes from this. Yeah. It exposes me to a lot, which I'm not fearful of, but I want to make sure that it's worth it, right? And I also I'm not certain that this isn't performative in the same way that I'm critical of you after when you got kicked off Twitter and everything turned into like the Kardashians of Twitter who have, big prefrontal cortexes. Like, I don't like that whole game. But so part of what happened was
What? So does any neurologists in the house, what are we talking about? Prefrontal cortexes?
I knew that the dream was this same thing. And I also knew when you came at me for the imposter syndrome that it hit me and it hurt the way that an insult hurts. Like, it shuddered me. Like in boxing when you take a full blow. But then it wasn't real. Like, it couldn't touch me. I felt it in full and then I went, you're wrong. You're not you. I don't have that. In this. I might have it in plenty of other things. Plenty of other ways I might be a fool.
Wait, what did Dream Peterson do to him?
Or be, as of yet, undeceived about the ways that I think I know more than I do.
Yeah.
But it's not this. And that's why you didn't have my best interests in mind. If you've done that plenty on things that I don't know, and fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
let's get it out. Let's muck
Yeah, but
around
that was the fear in the dream, is that I'm criticizing you and not acting in good faith.
That's right.
So we're in amongst the hillbillies party.
So wait, maybe he just doesn't remember what exactly. There was some criticism. He doesn't remember the exact words. That's what I'm getting.
Away.
And you're your focused, attentive self. But as I'm watching you, I'm realizing, one, that it's performative, because I'm looking at it because I look where you look often.
This is
right?
so
And to some extent,
good.
vice versa. If something's like really of interest to you and your focus.
Okay, so I got something popped into my mind about that.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I hung around with the more delinquent guys. Not that there was any shortage of them in
The Lost Boys?
And there was a reason for that. I mean, first of all, I was intellectual and I was small, and because I was younger in my class, I also had a harder time on the athletic front. And so there was a bit of compensation in that, I would say, to hang around with the tough kids, the tough misbehaving kids. And I could do that. I mean, it had its costs, but I could do that.
But were they tweed punk? That's my question. Were these the tweed punk kids that you were hanging out
There
with?
weren't a lot of alternatives as well. It's a very small town.
That's
And
fine.
so
He never. Yeah,
there
exactly.
might be a part of
exactly.
me too that has a proclivity
Oh,
to
tell me
want
about your
to appeal
proclivity.
more to that rough and tumble, working class, rough edge of the world, which I also think is a plus. And I think you have that to some degree.
We do.
'cause-
And one of the things we've been talking about is the fact that I swear
Yo, these are some weird academics here. They want to connect with the working class, and I don't know if they even know what that means.
much. I'm a crime.
You can tell working class people from their tweed punk apparel. They will wear the tweed suspenders and the leather patches, and oh my god, they look like leprechauns. That's how you can tell the working class.
novels.
Right.
And in certain circumstances, it's very much part of my parlance, and I don't think it's as usefully
Back to the
updated
dream. Yes,
when
exactly.
appropriate
Yeah, I
as it
think
can
that's
be.
right. Well, I also think that it's been good for you in many, many senses to also have had some appeal to the military types and the police types.
Because that doesn't help with the swearing.
These guys like bad boys. That's what this is. They want they're looking for that bad boy archetype.
part.
No, yeah, fair enough.
I've just learned all the best stuff. But no,
Fair enough.
totally.
But so
That's
there can easily be a part of that's a pandering and an inappropriate pandering. And
oh yeah. And I
so,
don't.
So
but
the
those are
performative
real.
element.
Yeah.
The dream is putting me forward as inappropriately performative in relationship to the dream
Like
character's
viewing the
criticism of
beautiful,
you.
like fork cello, and so I'm looking at it, and then I have this realization where I'm like,
what is the fork cello? The fork cello. Okay, so wait, a fork. Okay, so I think I get it. There's a fork, it's standing upright, they got strings on it, and they're somehow making it into a cello. There's no resonant chamber. Fork doesn't have one of those, but in this dream, just having a fork with strings suspended between the top and the bottom and being able to play the little bow, that gets you a cello sound. That's what we're dealing with here. Okay.
Jordan, like the hillbilly incest fork cello, it's just not that fascinating. And what am I doing here? We should be paying attention to something else. And I usually pay attention to what you pay attention to because it illuminates
Oh my god.
meaning or discussion point.
Dude, pull your head out of his Jesus Christ, I usually look at what you look at. Whatever Jordan looks at, that's the thing I should be looking at.
Or a
This
fruitful
guy is so
disagreement.
heaven-bound.
And I just realized that there's no life here. This is kind of dead.
So
Well,
heaven-bound.
that's that incestuous motif, you know. So one of the things Jung talked about, he has a whole symbolic chapter.
We're
on
getting
this
into the
about
incest.
the place where
Are you
only
ready?
like mates with like.
Well, Jonathan,
Yeah.
you
So
should jump
you-
in.
So I think one of the things that
Listen, incest, this is your area of expertise, Jonathan. Tell us about incest. Okay, so the Jungian divination of incest in a dream. Now, they haven't told us what is the incestuous element in the dream. Is it just that we're dealing with hillbillies and there's a 70s film that deals like with incestuous hillbillies and like somehow there's like a connection? Is that the only connection? Or was there actually incest going on in this guy's dream? And how is Jordan Peterson? Is he just like watching the incest go down? Is he participating in the incest? Like, what is going on here? Oh my God.
thinking about is to understand.
Love is love,
if you
true.
think about right left as a basic category, the way that you
And
talk
listen,
about
like
it.
a Vosh or a Destiny fan will tell you that you can't prove that there's anything immoral about incest. It's perfectly legit.
Which is conservative
In
and then
the
more
right
liberal and more
context,
open.
of course.
The conservative, they tend to the way that
Not
we dehumanize,
ontologically
you could say,
evil.
or the monster that we perceive. The conservative tends to have something like a chimera monster. Things that don't go together, the idea of something which is strange, which is unrecognizable,
So
something
basically, like no comment chick. That would be the conservative like monster.
which is fluid and mixed and a mixture of categories.
That's what they see as a
That's
monster.
what they see as the monster. That's what they project as the
Monster.
monster. And interestingly enough, let's say the from the
Something
left
that shouldn't work but does.
side, the monster is
Meow.
the opposite. It's something that's too close. And the hillbilly has become mythologically in American culture the image. And so Deliverance is like a left-wing fantasy.
Yeah.
Right?
And,
It's a
and The
left-wing-
Hills Have Eyes is a horror movie.
So you have this
Okay,
idea
okay.
of, first of all, you have the idea of something that's too local, something that is incestuous and therefore is too close, you know, and is too, their identity
Wait.
is so local
Wait.
that it almost becomes idiosyncratic because it's so local.
Yes.
And so,
and it
so
can become sterile and deformed as a consequence.
exactly.
Okay, so do you get what they're saying? So this is Jungian stuff here, right? And they're saying that for the conservative, the monster that appeals to them is the chimera. You take a lion's head and a snake as a tail and like the wings of a bat, and you put that all together and you get a chimera. You know what a chimera looks like, right? It's any sort of combination of different animal parts into one animal is considered like a chimera, right? And so that is what the conservatives are afraid of, like disparate elements being put together that don't fit together, and that's like really scary to them. For the liberal, they're saying the monster is the hillbilly, the hyper-local, incestuous, like combination of the same thing over and over again a million times until it creates this like monster of sameness, right? So I mean, yeah, I understand what they're saying here.
In real time in the dream, and that's what I mean that it was an embodied dream, I thought that's how I think when I'm seeing the tweets, which is not that it's a moral judgment on you, but you've now surrounded yourself in a hall of likeness that you're oblivious to how you're engaging with the world and the manner in which you're doing so, and you're helpless against even the own pledges of self-control that you made to yourself in your engagement with the world while you're simultaneously lecturing about ethics and Christ around the world. And I thought, that's wrong. It's and when I try
Suboptimal, at
Yes.
least.
suboptimal.
Yes, Noonern. They are my crush. And my monster is like more like a combination of Destiny and Vosh embodied in the same person, sort of a chimera, if you will, of the two people. And like, obviously I have the hots for that. Obviously, you know, if I'm having a dream about the Destiny Vosh chimera, it is definitely a sex dream. So thank you for pointing that out, Noonern. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Your
right. 'Cause
contribution is appreciated, my friend.
there's a lot you do right all the time. And it's like I don't like complimenting you in
That's
public.
fine. I know it's
But
very
there's
annoying.
there's like at some point what you have been through in certain ways in facing the absolute worst elements of the far left. And by that, I don't mean liberals and I don't mean Democrats.
You mean chimeras. That's what we're talking about. We're dealing with chimeras here, right? You're talking about the worst elements of the left. You're talking about the Destiny Bosch chimera, right? That horrible, nightmarish creature that just for some reason turns me the on. I don't know.
And I don't mean moderates. Has been harrowingly horrible. It's a horror movie as written by Kafka. It's been awful. And a large part of why I've been able to be undeceived about the problems that are happening on my side is in large part because of the closeness of my relationship with you.
Ooh, okay.
Because I saw it in ways that were undeniable. And you and I are...
Did I have to do that? No, I probably didn't.
I can't dismiss you for it. And so part of it is I took that ride early. You're almost like the original cancel culture icon. Lucky you. Right?
It's been a pleasure.
But you've been battered and you've dealt with a lot of it way better than anybody thinks or knows in the mainstream media and on the left. Now, that said, you also ask for a lot because...
Okay, now I've said this before. Hopefully I don't have to say it many times again. Cancel culture, as put forward by right-wingers like this, that is stolen valor.
And professional aspect. And so it's important to say that while we're talking about this isn't like me coming in and beating you like a piñata that you need to be perfect, but it's saying with everything that you are and with the capacity that you have to speak in a transcendent way to more people, you have a moral responsibility to take more care with your words so that you're not thoughtlessly denigrating whole swaths of people who need to at least hear from you or hear a perspective that you have to offer that's immensely helpful.
It's
the same way that I say...
though, it's really not. The only thing that people are going to get from Peterson is like more confusion. They're going to get any sort of persecution complex that they already have at work in themselves. They're going to get that reinforced, right? You're not going to get anything out of Peterson.
Destroying the educational system, and the radical right isn't there at all. So that puts me in a
educational system. It's people blowing you up on Twitter. That's what we really have to worry about. That's the real danger, okay? None of this real world that's going on that could actually affect us, that could plunge us into an authoritarian hell government, some kind of like new dark ages, right? That is not a concern at all.
Particularly weird position professionally, and it's a unidimensional position. But then I would also say that the people who have come after me most effectively and most continuously, although there's been some of the right, that's never really been very effective, it's all been from the left.
That's right.
And so I know as well that there's a moral hazard in that it's not as easy for me to be balanced in my view. And then there's one other dimension to that too, is that I don't see the radical left as penitent in any real sense. And this actually extends out into the liberal community more broadly, because in many ways, the entire world has decided that the Nazis that was just not acceptable. But we have not.
Listen here, Hitler. Listen here, buddy. Okay? That is not acceptable. Genocide is bad.
Sad for me.
Okay, so then there's the next part of the dream.
The next part of the dream is you're going off with your licentious hillbilly orgy, and people are like pairing off and going to rooms. And I get offered like a hillbilly woman, and it was amazing.
Wait, but doesn't it like not fit the dream if you're not related to her somehow? You'd have to be related to her.
This moment, like a first reaction where I'm like, I'm married, I don't cheat on my wife, I'm not going to go to a back room with a hillbilly.
That's the problem with Peterson is if you hang out with him, he's going to try to get you involved in some kind of incestuous hillbilly orgy.
I did have a second thought.
And you're a married man, okay?
Like, also the hillbilly women are not very attractive. So I was slightly relieved and slightly terrified. So like it wasn't as purely an act of virtue as possible. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, I was like, no, it was clear morally. And it also was clear that it was other in a way that was scary, would be the non-funny part to say it. Like, I don't want to tingle in that.
So that you were offered the temptation of creative union with what was too close an incestuous bond. And you.
Wait, which relative of yours was it?
said no.
Yes.
Right.
I said, no, Dr. Peterson, I will not participate in your weird incest orgy.
And
too far. That's a line
as
drawing.
I'm here in this amazing company that I've been in for the last week. Like, that's interesting.
Right. Well, because you were concerned about coming down here because, well, this is part...
Because now you're hanging out with Shapiro and the Daily Wire and all the, like, legit conservatives.
Then I'm in a house it's a bare house. And the closest thing that it could remind me of was, I went to Albania at one point, and there's these mansions that were built by like Russian oligarchs to escape, and then they ran out of money. And they're these big platform, concrete, like shells of mansions, but they're never given life. Anyways, and so it's a house like that, and it's on tilt, and it's concrete, and there's water that's flooding up the bottom of the house. And everyone's going off to have sex in the various rooms that are also cabins on a ship, and the ship's grounded.
So that's also extremely relevant.
Oh my God, this is like the White Hotel. What the is going on here? We're getting super psychoanalytic here. Wow.
Because that's an image of a decayed civilization. As the house is collapsing, the waters are rising, and in response, everyone's going off to their own rooms to have sex with incestuous partners. Yes. And that's the polarization.
Wait,
right?
Did I say reef or did they say, a turf? Okay.
So it's a great image. And another indication.
Or as we call that, Monday night. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, exactly. And then I'm also aware that it's a grounded
can probably
arc,
explain turfs.
because it's on tilt, like when a boat comes up.
Yeah.
I always think about like the image when Beowulf's boat comes back, right?
Beowulf's
it's the big,
boat.
It comes in crooked. And so I'm aware of that. So then it's a bit of a blur.
Okay, so it's on a tilt because, it's on a tilt because it's crooked. So the house is crooked, the house is falling, the house is filling with
an
water.
arc. It's like,
It's the fall of the House of Usher.
arc ain't gonna rise.
Right.
Right, we need arcs to rise generally when there's a flood.
Yeah.
This one's not rising because all you people are off having hillbilly sex.
There's too much hillbilly sex.
Right, I'm not in the dream. Wait a minute.
Or are you? Oh my God, this guy has sex dreams about the people that he works with, and this is what's getting discussed on the Daily Wire. Like, see that DW? That's what that stands for. This is the Daily Wire that's bringing us this
Pajot's getting pulled
amazingly
in. By the way,
cursed content.
this is the next icon carving that we need. Is like, yeah, it'll be like your Hieronymus Bosch painting will be like the hillbilly arc orgy.
Out in the margin.
Yeah. Okay, so then basically
that's the state of our civilization.
Yeah, it's dismal. It's dismal. Then you come after me and you're yelling after me. It's more deprecations. And it's basically like, you should doubt yourself.
It's like, why won't you have hillbilly incest sex? Damn it.
You don't belong.
So you're kind of standing in for...
You're one of the Chimera people. You refuse to have hillbilly incest sex.
The left in that sense. And in the Twitter persona that I've been adopting, let's say, at least in those tweets and others as well.
So then I went away, and outside, it was sort of an idyllic setting, and then Tammy was there. And Tammy said to me, and Tammy and I, it's kind of interesting because Tammy and I are
Tammy
like...
is my wife, for those of you listening who might not know that. And Gregg and Tammy know each other very well and have for decades. And
they've never had sex before, at least to my knowledge.
Tammy has been in the conversation.
I don't think they're related in any ways.
Many times when we've been mutually working out familial problems of different intensity and personal problems and all of that. So, and I don't know exactly what image Tammy plays for you. I know that...
Yeah, what does my wife represent to you symbolically in your sex dreams? Jesus Christ.
When you were first thinking about getting married to Delina, Tammy definitely pushed on you and said, and if I remember correctly, and said, this is like, get at it, they're Hurlitz.
Yeah, and Tammy waits and she's all quiet and you're like, oh, what a meek, submissive, kind woman. And then she just like lops your legs off with a machete.
Wait, in the dream?
It's like completely deserved.
Oh,
and
no,
she had
this is
some
in
great
real life.
So she's a good feminine judge.
Well, she's also embodied, she's the embodied feminine in that. You said that.
Yeah, this is the great thing to tell somebody you work with. Their wife is the embodied feminine to you in your sex dreams.
A while ago, you said Tammy's so feminine, right? It took me a long time because my wife is too, and that had very different meaning than how I was raised. But she's powerful from her femininity in full. And so when she says stuff, and Tammy and I also have a affectionate and fun and joking relationship. It's not like it's always serious. But when Tammy pokes you, yeah, which is, but if she pokes you, it's worth paying attention to. And she's put up with him for how long, right? So there's
50 years.
Yeah. Is it really?
50. Yeah, I've known her since she was.
Oh, that's
she was
right.
8,
That's
50
right.
Years.
So anyway, and Tammy's had.
By the way, Jordan, you have a great wife.
Tammy had me in one
You're
of her
so
dreams. Tammy and I
lucky.
are like dream allies sometimes in a way that's kind of
Oh
weird.
no!
And so
Yo, you're
Tammy
gonna
was
make
there.
Jordan Peterson so sus of you. This guy's gonna get himself fired.
And she said to me,
You can't tell him that you're dream allies.
Don't
You can't
worry.
say you're dream allies with somebody's wife.
she said, in our next book, it was another 12 Rules for Life book, we're writing and devoting a chapter to you. I was like, that's really weird, right? Because, you know, Hillbilly Jordan, who just like was hurling, you know, gnawed corn cobs at me my way out of the crooked arc, didn't seem to inclined to want to venerate me.
Are you
But it
sure
was-
that
she was
they're
clear-
like gnawed, or are they like the corn cobs being used for something else?
That was something that was happening. And then she said, you're the moon god.
Oh, wait.
And my
Wait,
first reaction, I had
moon
an
god?
immediate
Usually it's a moon goddess. I seriously don't know any moon gods.
and rare initial reaction of humility that was genuine, where I was like,
I mean, the man in the moon, that's the closest thing I can think of.
not a god, like even in the dream. And I said, what you mean is I'm godlike in the way that the moon is. And she said, yes, your job is to shine light on the waters.
Now, Padjo, you had some things to say about that.
Well, there's a few things that I would have to say. First off, I think I'm realizing how much this dream is probably a reflection of a lot of the reactions that I've also had from people from all sides, different conservative, different, is the sense in which people felt like we're in a
male
in a
Maya
moment of
but far
crisis.
right.
And they felt like one of the things you've been able to do is to start building an arc. Right, to start
my
build
God,
something
this is
which would
so
not
weird.
be completely given into
Oh,
the
this is
forces
so
of
weird.
these chaos that are happening, and could maybe kind of gather us together and carry us through towards something better.
Yeah.
And so the fact that
He says, can they just discover swinging and leave the rest of us alone?
you have this flood. So we felt the flood coming. And that's something I think everybody kind of feels, the flood waters rising. And so the fact that you see that this arc now isn't going to fly anymore. Right?
Because
And
of all the
that
Hillbilly
it's got
texts.
to- yes.
One of my problems with Jungian like concepts is that it tends to essentialize things. It definitely has like I've noticed a lot of gender essentialism. I almost feel like they're kind of essentializing political ideologies in a way that's not helpful.
It's hard to establish a group of competent, intelligent, ethical people who don't think like you. It is hard, but it's still contingent on you to do.
Yeah.
And it might be hard in certain ways that are specific to liberals, which I get because I see that all the time. But there's also different ways that it's hard with conservatives.
Yeah,
and
well,
you're
the
not-
problem too is you get tired.
Yes.
It's like one of the reasons I think that it's a relief to me to talk to people when it's not a minefield with every bloody word.
Right.
Because it takes so much effort to negotiate that. And I know that
See,
I know
like,
that
here's the thing. Like, he's talking about a minefield, talking to the left, right? The that he gets for is like dead naming trans people, is starting a moral panic about a bill in Canada that just wanted to extend the same civil rights that everybody else gets to trans people. That is literally what's in the bill, and you made it sound like this is the gulag. They're coming after you. If you get one trans person's pronouns wrong one time, that's it. They're gonna get you. You're done for, right? If you feel like there's like a moral, what did he say? Like a moral minefield that you're walking through, that is because you're an immoral person. That is because you do harm to people that we care about. And the fact that your head is so far up your ass that you can't conceive of that. You can't imagine that solidarity. You can't imagine somebody being like mad because you did something up to somebody different than them. You're like, but they're just trans people. Why should I like care about? No, we care about trans people. That's what you're missing. That's where the mines are blowing up on you. That's where you're stepping on mines. If you want to figure that out, if you want to be a decent person, if you want to be able to talk to people like a normal person, then stop acting like a goddamn witch hunter. Okay? So sorry this world is so damn confusing to you. Sorry you feel like cancel culture is so unfair. It's not nearly as unfair as the people that you're victimizing, Jordan. It's not nearly that unfair.